I'm Father Michael Stahl. I am the spiritual director for Hope's Garden. Today's question is, what is true humility? So humility is often taken from the perspective of we are prideful, think highly of ourselves, and we need to be brought down to a sense of being humbled. Now, it's probably more accurate to think of it like a bowling alley where you have the two gutters on each side. You can get too high of a self-esteem or too low of a self-esteem. The goal is to be somewhere in the middle of those two, where you have an accurate understanding of who you are in God's perspective, in God's view. After all, lots of people have opinions about each other, but most of those opinions don't matter. It's God's opinion that really matters. Try to picture a little child, 5 years old, comes over to me and says, "You're mean." Now, I might giggle to myself because this little kid has no ability to make that judgment. They might just be trying to manipulate me. They're trying to say whatever they think will be, you didn't give me what I wanted, so I'm going to call you mean so that you turn around and give it to me. But I see right through the little 5-year-old. I know what the 5-year-old's doing. And therefore, his judgment of me as being mean falls on deaf ears. I just kind of laugh it off. As we get older, their opinions matter much more because we figure they're taking in a better perspective of reality. But still, there might be people who don't really know me, and they might show up and say, "Oh, you do all that praying because you think you're better than everyone else." And I would say, well, you clearly don't know me. So whether or not you think that's true isn't based on reality, but on a preconceived notion you have. So what we have in humility is who am I really? Who am I really? And the best perspective is, how does God see me? If I have too high of a self-esteem, I will think of myself as better than others. I will think of myself as too good for things that I really need. A prideful person might not want to associate with poor people or those who are uncouth. A prideful person might also be the kind of person who immediately thinks that they deserve the biggest piece of the cake, the greatest of the gifts, and that others get whatever is left over. But it's also a form of pride to be on the other side of this, is to say, I will always have the smallest piece of cake, or as to say, I must always be associated with the lowliest. I will always sit at the kids' table. These are not real perspective or real understanding of yourself. God would say, you are good, you are holy, you are loved. He's not going to say that he loves you more than he loves other people. It's not what God would say, because God loves you so perfectly and God loves the other so perfectly. How could you say he loves me more perfectly than you? It's perfect. It's 100%. So he can't really say that God loves this one more or less, or that one more or less. Therefore, my innate value must be seen through that perspective. Now, it is true that some of my gifts, some of my abilities, some of my discipline, some of the things I do pleases the Lord more than other things I do. And therefore, I could say this person is more virtuous and pleases the Lord more than this person who's got lots of vices. But that doesn't mean that their value is any different. God still loves both of them equally. In humility, I must recognize I will always need God's help, always. And yet I have gifts. I have been given so much from the Lord already. And those who are given, much is expected. So I have to hold myself to a higher standard because I recognize this relationship I have with the Lord. The Lord loves me. How can I act as if the Lord doesn't love me? The Lord declares me good. How can I act as if I'm not good? And while at the same time not saying I am better than others, as if the Lord loves me more than others, or thinks that my goodness is somehow better than others. To put a real good perspective, I want you to imagine there's a bunch of ants on the ground. There's like 2,000 ants crawling around. When you look down at those ants, which of those ants is the best of the ants? Which of those ants is the worst of the ants? They all look the same to you, don't they? God, the difference between God and humanity is far more than the difference between humanity and ants. And therefore, when God looks down at the billions of people on earth, the difference between the worst and the best is so insignificant to God that he loves us both equally. And therefore, holding on to that truth means I can't kick myself while I'm down, nor can I hold myself up higher than others. Now, what I have found in the battle of trying to know yourself in that between the two alleyways of the bowling alley, between the two gutters, is that a lot of times we put ourselves up on a pedestal only to be humbled, and then we're really hard on ourselves. We go from saying, I'm such a great person to I am the worst person. Neither one of those are correct. Neither one of those are correct. Just accept the fact that some things I'm good at, some things I'm not. I always find it strange when I say to people in the congregation, which of you are holy? And no one raises their hand. No one's holy. You don't see your own holiness? I always think it's strange in a congregation when I say, okay, why don't we have the person who's best to read come up and read? And no one wants to come up. Why is that? Because they want to be humble before the others. So a lot of times that's the problem. The problem isn't, do I see myself as too high or too low, but that I'm using others as the way to compare my value. The way others see me, define me. When the real perspective, how does God see me? And God will humble us and he will lift us up and we will stay right between those two. The Lord said to me the one day, hey, Mike, I really like your creativity, but that last idea was lousy. Back to the drawing board. I burst out laughing. What a great thing to say in my prayer life. Like, God, you get me. You get me. I do come up with a creativity out of the works. And it's a gift. He gave it to me. But they're not all jewels. But he reminds me of that and says, don't worry about it. That's okay. Who told you had to do everything right the first time? Just keep working at it. And that's enough. So stay humble, but don't kick yourself while you're down. You are holy. You are loved. You are good.